I'm not being kind this time. I'm keeping the goddamn fan on. It is hot as balls in this apartment. The fan stays on. I'm sorry about the white noise. You'll get over it. Once upon a time, a few years ago, people started saying go to therapy as a joke. Now, I am not, out of the water here. I did as well. Now, I am also of the opinion that a mentally ill person saying go to therapy as a joke, and understanding the full implications of that, and understanding, mental illness is a lot different than a person that doesn't understand those things saying the same thing as a joke. I, for instance, because I Stockholm syndromed myself into standing Stray Kids. So my friends and I, who are all mentally ill, like to joke that it's mental illness, that I have Stockholm syndromed myself into standing Stray Kids. Because we are all mentally ill and understand that that is not the case, the joke is funny. I'm just making a self-deprecating joke about how I like to Stockholm syndrome myself into K-pop groups. It would be entirely different if a non-mentally ill person that has zero understanding of psychology and mental illness said the same thing, because truthfully, I don't trust them to be responsible making those kinds of jokes. And that is almost exactly what happened with the go to therapy joke. It started out as a lighthearted jest between mentally ill people that eventually snowballed into a widespread dig at other people that are not behaving in a way that you like. And at a certain point, as the joke became more and more viral with locals, it stopped being funny and it started stigmatizing therapy and mental illness in its own sick and twisted way. Oh, how do I love the internet and its things that it does with words. So not only did the go to therapy joke start stigmatizing mental illness again, but it also started to stigmatize therapy, oddly enough. But also, oddly enough, contradicting what I just said, in congruence with the TikTok pathologizing, mindset they got over there where, they want to diagnose everybody and use words wrong. The go to therapy joke did kind of popularize the notion of going to therapy in a weird contradicting way, as it also stigmatized therapy. In the same fell swoop, it also sort of made it seem like therapy is a cure. It's a cure-all for all mental illness, and that if you go to therapy, it'll all go away and you'll be, completely mentally healthy, like a medicine you can take for a cold or something. I know that these are weird contradicting statements that I'm making, that it also stigmatized therapy, but also sort of popularized therapy as a weird cure-all medication for mental illness, but that is exactly what happened. Hey gang, therapy is not a cure for mental illness. What therapy can do is it can give you a professional to speak to about your past traumas, and speak about them, unpack them, if you will, and give you some tools to cope with them. That's what therapy can do, and that is a good thing. This is not a slight against therapy. This is not me saying don't go to therapy, don't straw man this, I will kick you in your nuts. This is rather saying that the idea that therapy is like a pill or a cough medicine when you have a cold, that sort of mindset is dangerous because it's not true. That's not how it works. And I would even dare to say that sometimes it's not how it works with medication, like straight up either. Both of these things just sort of mitigate the damage. Now, mental illness can be caused by lots of things, but to break it down to its bare fucking bones right now, like this is the bare bones, mental illness can be caused by genetics and just your brain being fucky wucky, or it can be caused by environment, which is like, childhood trauma and, the things going on in the world, or both. Basically, this is a nature versus nurture type of situation that I'm presenting to you. For a lot of mental illness, specifically the more common cold versions of mental illnesses like anxiety and depression, I don't think that it's a biochemical situation. Basically, I am trying to say in a very long-winded way, my brain chemicals are fucked up understanding of mental illness is a very surface level understanding, and it's not good enough, quite frankly. Is it possible that you are genetically predisposed for schizophrenia and then, you just kind of, without any trigger, without any warning, just get schizophrenia? Sure, it's possible. But a shit ton of mental illnesses have to do with your environment. Your environment, whether that be, the state of the world, its hierarchies, its systems, or whether that be the childhood trauma that, has, developed from pretty much all of that. We are living in a way that was not meant for our brains. Let's put it quite simply. And our brains are responding to that quite negatively. The mental health crisis that we're going through now is not just simply a chemical imbalance. It's our brains looking at the world and, dealing with the world as is and going, I don't like that actually. Not having a good time. It's your brain trying to protect you, believe it or not. Our bodies do backwards shit to try and protect us from, the world. Being constantly stressed and then getting anxiety from it is a way to protect you from that stress. It's such a weird backwards way for our brains to do things, but it's basically the anxiety saying, don't go out, don't do the thing, save yourself the stress so we're not in fight or flight. But ironically, it kind of puts you in a weird fight or flight, it's trying to protect you from the dangers of the world, but instead it's just making everything worse. Back to where therapy gets into this. We've already established how therapy can be helpful. Because it can. It can help you cope with your reality. It can give you the tools you need to help you just keep moving on. But at a certain point, therapy cannot cure you. Therapy will not change the systems around you that created that mental illness in the first place. And I've seen several therapists say this. Therapists right now are obviously overwhelmed by how many people are trying to seek therapy, which is a good thing that people are trying to seek therapy, but at a certain point, these therapists are like, this person's mental health issues are dependent upon their physical reality, their financial stability, the capitalist system we have in place. And that is not something a therapist can fix. There are certain things therapists cannot change. And, that is why when you do go to therapy, therapists do try to focus on the things you can change, the things that are within your control. But at a certain point, there is a roadblock. And that roadblock may be, integral. Why this person cannot fully recover from mental illness. And a therapist cannot control other people either. At a certain point, a therapist can only give so many tools to a person that has been hurt so many times before it becomes a matter of these people need to stop hurting this person. They can certainly help with some things, but they are not a cure. And that is something that people are not understanding, I don't think, especially in the way that they're using the go to therapy insult. They think that, if a depressed person goes to therapy, they'll suddenly be cured and normal again, as if that's how this works. I just feel like the way people talk about therapy on the internet, I need people to understand that mental illness is not as simple as going to a therapist to, cure you. And it's even not as simple as taking medication to cure you a lot of the times. Now, both of these things can be helpful, and I'm not discouraging them in any way. I think people should try going to therapy if they can. I will end this with an anecdote of my own. About 4 or 5 years into seeing my therapist, we sort of hit a roadblock. One day, she looked at me and went, "What do you want to get out of this? What do you need me to do?" And I didn't know how to answer her, because at that point, the issues were mostly things that were out of my control, out of her control. I, was working a job that I needed to work in order to, survive. And my sleep schedule was fucked up because of it. And I was too tired to do anything, and it always just made me more and more and more depressed. I would walk 8 to 15 miles per day. So my body was tired as well, and I wasn't sleeping enough, or I couldn't sleep because I am a night owl, so I need to go to bed later. But if I have to wake up earlier, I'm fucked. And at a certain point, neither of us knew what to do about that, because there really isn't much you can do about that at a certain point. And that is a roadblock. Medication can only take you so far. A therapist can only take you so far. If the systems in your environment and, all this other dog shit that's in place is not taken care of, you may have a hard time actually getting better. And that's not a crazy statement to make. Please, for the love of God, before using go to therapy as an insult, like that's suddenly going to fix everything that this person is going through, please think about how some people cannot go to therapy because their financial situation does not allow it, or possibly think about how therapy may not, entirely fix the issue because the systems in place won't allow it. Like, just think about it a little bit, because therapy is not a magic little pill you can take and all of your problems go away.